So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pillar 3 November the 18th meeting. So glad to have everyone to join us today. We have a very robust agenda today, a lot of guest speakers, some exciting topics. So why don't we just go and dive right into it and do introductions. So I'm Kirk Murray. I'm the local workforce development director for Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and I am president of the Maryland Workforce Association, which is the association of the 13 workforce boards. And why don't I kick it over to my co-chair, Dave Harper.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kurt. Dave Harper, coming from Chesapeake College on Maryland's Eastern Shore, and I pass to Nona Carroll.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Nona Carroll, the Chief of Talent Ecosystem at Baltimore's Promise. And are there other board members on yet?
I think Adenike just joined
Adenike
us.
just joined. Not to put you on the spot, Adenike, but we're just giving our name and organization that we're with.
Awesome. Good afternoon. My name is Adenike Akintillo. I'm with the Annie E. Casey Foundation.
Great. I'll kick it over to Joe.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Rose. I'm the Director of Workforce Development within Anne Arundel County Public Schools. I will tag Dee Dee Keller.
Good afternoon. I'm Dee Dee Keller. I'm the coordinator of career and technical education at Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And I will kick it over to Jocelyn Shan.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm the career coach at NAF, which is a Baltimore City public school, and I'm with Edwin, who's a junior.
My name is Edwin Ramos.
We are fortunate to have many great guests here today, and I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Richard Kincaid from MSDE.
Thank you, Dr. Harper. Richard Kincaid. I'm the Assistant State Superintendent in the Division of College and Career Pathways at MSDE. I'll kick it over to my team, starting with Tracy Kittle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tracy Kittle. I'm the Director of Career Connected Learning on Richard's team, and we are reporting live from the Walter Reed Military Research Center, where we are expanding apprenticeships as we speak. And so appreciate your patience here. I'm going to shoot things over to Rita Berdunez.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rita Berdunez, and I am the coordinator for career counseling, working under Richard and Tracy. Great to be here at MSD. And I'll send it over to Brady.
Thanks, Rita. My name is Brady Wheeler. I'm the Senior Program Manager, officially operating out of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, leading our Career Coach initiative here in the city. And no shade on any other jurisdiction that might be represented on the call, but I'm looking around at a lot of Baltimore City friendly faces, and I'm very excited to see this city representing so much. So I just had to throw it out there.
Good word, Brady. And so I'll drag it back to the Eastern Shore. and welcome Dr. Christy Dreyer from M4CAO.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Dreyer, Vice President of Academic Affairs and Provost for Cecil College on the Eastern Shore. Dave and I are going to represent.
Yes.
I'm going to throw it over to Gretchen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gretchen Cheney. I'm the Pillar 3 Policy Analyst with the AIB. And I think we haven't heard from Adam Talley yet.
Hello, everyone. Adam Tolley, Supervisor of Career and Technical Education for Queen Anne's County Public Schools.
And Deanna, I believe, is the last.
Hey, I'm Deanna Costa, and I am the Manager for Work-Based Learning at Baltimore City Public Schools.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you to all of our guest speakers for being here and our board members, and then, of course, our support from the AIB. And other special guests. So, Adenike, welcome to the committee. We're glad to have you here. Do you want to give a few minutes just to do a little bit more deeper dive of yourself? You named, who you are and what organization, but tell a little bit and why you were interested in being on this committee.
I was so interested in being on this committee because it focuses on the college and career readiness of our amazing young people in the state of Maryland. in Baltimore City, so really focused on Baltimore City as well. Not only because of my previous role at Baltimore City Public Schools, focused on that in the Office of College and Career Readiness, but also because I have a daughter that's in the public school system that has, really benefited from the blueprint and all of the work that you guys have put in over the last couple of years. Even thinking about the number of college credits she has right now and the career coaching and advising she gets from her career coach at Hereford High School, that has really supported her in getting all her college applications in, her internship experience that she's having this year. So really wanted to be part of this committee, really just to offer my insight as a parent, but also as a former employee of a school system in really implementing the blueprint for the economic opportunity and mobility of our young people in the state. So thank you for agreeing for me, allowing me to serve in this way. And I really hope that I can be a value add to the committee. Thank you so much for the time to introduce myself.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your willingness to serve and looking forward to working with you. And we have another new member who is not able to join us. I think Dave is trying to have the Eastern Shore take over this committee. Jack Wilson from Queen Anne's County, who's a commissioner and also the head of MACO, leading MACO this year. So hopefully Jack can join us a little bit later on, or definitely look forward to him participating in this committee and working with us as we continue this great work of Pillar 3 for Blueprint for Maryland's Future. So now I am, Dave, do we want to throw the agenda up real quick just to let everyone know what we're going to kind of go through today? And then
Glad to do it.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Kurt. Can you see that okay?
Yep. So today, right after this, we'll go to the AIB, any updates to the AIB. And then one of the things that we wanted to do starting this year, going into year 3 of implementation of Blueprint. Now that people are actually implementing Blueprint, we really want to hear from the ground on what's really going on, some of the good things, some of the challenges they may have, some of the things that this committee may want to suggest to the full AIB board. So we have a guest, we have Baltimore City here to share some of the good things that they're doing. And then we're lucky to have MSDE here to kind of talk us through about their role and some of their new expanded roles in Blueprint, especially around career coaching. Talk a little bit about the professional development that they're now doing for all the career coaches, update on the 6-year plan, and then have a conversation around some of the impacts of the new changes for around CTE. And have some kind of conversation, getting some input from several people who are from the LEAs that are implementing some of the new changes. So it's a very lively meeting today, a lot of good information. And again, I just want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedule to be part of this. So I'm going to turn it over now to Gretchen from the AIB to just give some updates.
Sure, although I think I just heard that maybe we're going to flip the agenda a little bit. And Nona, did you want to do Baltimore City first? Is that what I heard?
Yes, I do apologize about that. So we need to make sure that Edwin is able to get to his next stop. So if that's okay, I would just do that quick flip and then we'll come back to AIB updates.
Sounds good. So Nona, do you want to, since you're the one that coordinated in Baltimore, you want to introduce and set the stage for this part?
Absolutely. So obviously, there's a lot of Baltimore City representation. So having Brady here with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, who is a senior manager of the Baltimore City Career Coaching Initiative, along with Deanna Costa, who has taken the role that Adenike was in at one point, the manager of work-based learning. We wanted to have them just kind of share what is happening in Baltimore City. And we're fortunate to have Jocelyn Shan as well as Edwin on the line as well, so that they can kind of get the perspective of what it's looking like and what Edwin's experience has been in this. So I will turn it over to our Baltimore City crew.
Yeah, and I'll toss it just immediately over to Jocelyn and Evan for the sake of time. Jocelyn, if you wanted to, we're going to talk on a high level about like the beauty of the partnership between city schools and MOED, but I'm really excited to have Edwin here to also just kind of talk through your experience working with Jocelyn, and I'll turn it over to y'all if you want to talk.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Sorry for changing the schedule up, kind of jumping the gun with the student experience first, but he needs to get going in like 4 minutes. So I really wanted him to share because I feel like he's a great example of like the holistic support of career coaching at NAF specifically.
So my experience with Miss Shan all started out when she came into our classroom. I believe I was in English 2 at the time, and she gave us a survey, and I did the survey. I found it pretty interesting, and it showed me all these different careers and was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. I should follow up with her eventually. So I followed up with her, and she told me about this field trip one time, and I was like, oh, I'll just use it as an excuse to get out of class one day. And I went on the field trip, and then I was like, wait, no, this is actually pretty interesting. So I ended up stumbling onto something that I found interesting because I wanted to skip class one day. But because of this, in the past, I was very tunnel visioned on one specific career path. I was like, either you're a surgeon or like you're a failure. So these field trips were like incredible for me because they allowed me to just see more than just surgeon or more than just what I was looking at the time. Because of this, I saw like new careers like in engineering and biomedical. It was really cool for me. There was this other field trip we went on. It was an electrician trip, and it would just shocked me, no pun intended, that that I was able to see just how available these jobs were. I was like, oh, electricians, those guys probably study for years and years, which I mean, yes, they do study for years, but these guys are getting paid while they study. So I was like, these jobs are so available. And because I was just so blind to other possible jobs, I couldn't see it without Miss Shan. Miss Shan just allowed me to see more. And yeah, she's also been a great help one-on-one too, because there was this internship. It was a Smithsonian Baltimore Forestry internship, and I feel like that was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. It allowed me to get valuable work experience, which I mean, it's amazing for someone of my age. A lot of kids my age don't have experience. So because of her, I managed to get into this internship. It was amazing. I did a lot of networking. I met a bunch of people like entomologists, forestry, people who worked with the pH levels of water in the Chesapeake Bay and everything. And not to mention, I did make a great sum of money that got me through a very hard time in my life. Overall, in the 21 days, I was in the 3 different cohorts of that internship. I have made $3,515, which was what made me able to afford my fully paid off car now. So I really have a lot to say thanks to Miss Shan because of this.
Cool. Thank you guys. I think he has to run soon, but thanks for moving around the schedule for him.
That was worth every moment. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, good luck to you and keep up the good work.
All right. So I think that Brady has a PowerPoint that we'll share on the screen that they can then share a little bit more about how this is set up in Baltimore City schools.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I can follow Edwin, but yeah, I hope that we're able to kind of at least like pull the camera back to just show the program model and our partnership in Baltimore City and how it leads to wonderful experiences that Edwin kind of described just now. So let me share my screen. Also, I'm lucky to have a co-presenter with me today, Deanna Costa, who also lovingly showed some tender loving care to the slide deck that I'm going to share on the screen, because that is not my forte. So partnerships in action. Yeah. I'll keep it relatively brief because I know we have a packed agenda, but really just wanted to kind of keep it high level and just show a little bit of just like Baltimore City's model, our approach, our philosophy when it comes to partnerships with city schools. So just wanted to kind of introduce myself. I'm the program manager of our initiative here, but by no means am I the only one handling the lift of this program. We have an incredible team of 3 program supervisors who each have a specialty within the program. We also have an incredible data analyst who has built an entire data system from scratch, which still blows my mind. We have assembled a dream team of folks from MOED, from City Schools. You're going to hear from Deanna shortly. And BCCC, which is actually our home in Baltimore City. We're based out of BCCC South Pavilion campus. So again, just really just excited to kind of talk through the partnership here in greater detail in a little bit. Just heard from Jocelyn and Edwin. I think that Edwin's experience is not an outlier here in Baltimore City. Our coaches are tasked with helping young people discover what are those interests at first. He mentioned the RIASEC survey and career interest lesson that our coaches are tasked with leading first when getting connected with students. But beyond just, developing those interests, our coaches then, as Edwin described, bring students off campus so they can really test out what it is that they're interested in and what they're not interested in. So I was really glad that you're able to hear from Edwin directly. I want to turn it over to my partner first before I talk a little bit more about our model within the Career Coaching Initiative, because so much of what we do is kind of built upon the foundation that Deanna and the City Schools Work-Based Learning team provides. So I want to turn it over to Deanna if you want to talk through all things work-based learning.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah, as Brady said, this is a team effort. And while I might be sitting in a place where I'm working with work-based learning, in our Office of Secondary Success and Innovation, we also have the CTE, which is working through the pathways and industry recognized credentials. And the career coach is another one of the building blocks. So it is this combination that is helping us move young people forward into gaining the experiences that they have. Next slide, please. And we do this through a really clear trajectory, which is we start with awareness. We're looking at the exploration. We begin planning once the students are in high school, the preparation, and then actually looking for experiences and learning experiences. Next slide, please. And to that end, the end goal of the experience is interns or apprentices. And right now, this school year, we have 50 senior interns. We have 181 youth apprentices in this range of industries. And we will have an additional 12 coming on, but we are just waiting for some clearance for that to happen. So in order for all of these things to happen on that arc, and in order for us to get where we are, there are elements that have to be in place. The infrastructure and enabling conditions. Next slide, please. And this is the structures and the enabling conditions that are helping us move things forward. We are looking to find well-matched post-secondary options for all of our young people, whether that's college or career. And so this team is made up of the college and career knowledge, the work-based learning team, and the caring adults. Next slide, next clip, please. This is how these actually work. Like, it's a great theory to see the structure, What we mean by college and career knowledge is exposure in the early and middle grades. So we're having career fairs for middle schoolers. We are doing career-based exploration lessons in the middle grades and in the younger grades to introduce. The work-based learning team is really focusing on the internships and apprenticeships for that hands-on learning, that experience where they can earn certifications and gain invaluable experience. But in my opinion, the real key here is this last one. It's the caring adults. We could not do what we do to get that trajectory moving and keep kids moving through that arc if we didn't have the work-based learning specialists, the career coaches, the counselors, the CTE managers, the PSAs, and there's many more actually in schools. And so when I think I've been here now, Brady, 3 months maybe. When I first got here, it was sort of, I had to learn a lot about the programming, but what I really learned very quickly is the caring adults, and organizing the caring adults was really where we had a strength. It created an infrastructure so that we could, if I go to an event and I meet all of these employers who are interested in IT interns or job shadowing, I get that information to the career coach. The career coach is actually out and getting kids connected, is talking to these employers and having them come and do panel discussions at their school, or even doing site visits for young people. So it really is a team effort, as Brady started off with, and this interplay with good communication, common messaging, and the same goals has really, I know for myself coming into the position new, has created an environment where you really focused on young people at the center. I'll turn it back over to Brady.
Deanna, I'm gonna be as speedy as possible because when I saw the agenda, I was like, okay, we've got 15 minutes. So I'll try and keep to that. But I do kind of want to just emphasize a lot of what Deanna just shared, which is the team approach here. I don't know if there's any basketball fans in the room, but back in the 90s, then Chicago Bulls coach Phil Jackson talked about the triangle offense approach that ultimately led to their team being one of the most successful teams in all of Major League sports. We, in a sense, philosophically use this approach when we're talking about school-based teams that partner with career coaches. So the scheme of the triangle offense is that when one player vacates their spot, passes the ball to a new player, there's a constant rotation back to backfill where that player just vacated. So there's always this kind of firm foundation, and the team never loses that triangle, right? And so we tend to think of our school's CCR team similarly, where a counselor leaves off, we hope that a coach can pick up, and likewise to post-secondary advisors, to college-bound staff, community school coordinator staff. Truly, this work has to be a team effort. There's just too many students in Baltimore City, and quite frankly, not enough career coaches. So it actually, by its design, needs to be a team effort. Do want to kind of touch on just kind of our engagement philosophy with principals, with school administration, our approach here, because I do think that, when I talk with our career coaches, with the rest of our program supervisors, this is a point of pride within our program, because we really prioritized building relationships with school leaders first in our pilot year, before we even got in front of students, right? It was a lot of conversations with principals about, this is the staff member that's going to be joining your team. This is their expertise that they're going to be bringing into the fold, giving that school leader the space to ask questions, to share concerns. And so, on the slide here, you can see that, our program believes the cornerstone to successfully supporting students is to also earn the trust and buy-in from school leadership, who are super protective over their students, right? This is just to kind of show that, that theory and practice. So every single school year, we have a beginning, middle, and end of year check-in with our school leaders. that is designed to collect the following information during those meetings, anything from sharing goals and details related to those goals, both the school leader and school CCR team, as well as the career coach staff share those goals and provide details. We use this time to check in on early data collected from the school year, as well as reviewing school calendars, talking through like events that are coming up, and then just also talking through any wins throughout the school year and room to grow. We find that just having this dedicated formal space with a school leader has led to really great problem solving, right? I think this is a new program. There's a lot of wrinkles that needed to be ironed out, especially in our kind of earlier days. But I think that because we had these intentional check-ins with our school leaders, this school year has proven to be a lot smoother than the past couple of years. In addition to those touch points with school leaders directly, we were fortunate to have city schools staff. We had director level staff join myself and these kind of district-led town halls with principals. So principals were able to tune into, it was a virtual town hall, where they could join and essentially ask any questions they had about career coaching, about the program, about any of the metrics that our staff are held to. And it was really great to have city schools representation on that call because there was a lot of questions that I personally could not answer. And also were questions that were not necessarily even specific to career coaching. They were pointing out larger things. So it was also great to kind of just like divert some of those questions to the right audience. So both of those kind of techniques have, in my view, really built a lot of the kind of like natural organic buy-in that I think is critical for career coaching to work at our schools in Baltimore City. I prepared a few other slides and just like our model and scope and sequence. I don't know, do we have a few extra minutes or?
We should. I mean, this has been very informative, and I think we should take a little extra time because a lot of good examples here. I do want to ask if there may be some questions from the floor, though, because our interactions often kind of lead and bring up those insights. So if you don't mind, Brady, if we could pause here for just a minute to see if anybody may have, I know I have one or two, but I want to pause here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll seed. I'll seed a couple questions and just can you remind me, were you hired into the school system or into the workforce board?
First off, I love that you even asked that question because we are kind of intentional in Baltimore City to kind of intentionally blur those lines. So I'm an MOED employee, but we actually have like access to like the software at the school system, have city schools emails. So yes, to answer your question directly, I'm an MOED employee, but sometimes it feels like both.
Sure.
So.
No, because I know the models differ. And you talked about leadership buy-in, and that's all part of that, and that's very good. And I just wanted to ask you how you were faring because I was impressed by the apprenticeship numbers and the internship numbers, and how you're finding the match between the business providers and what is working in incentivizing businesses to offer up apprenticeship placement. So do you have enough, and what is getting businesses motivated?
I'll probably defer that one over to my counterpart, Deanna, because she kind of oversees a lot more of like the employer engagement piece. But what I will share is that we, on our end, on MOED's end, we kind of view ourselves as like the student-facing side, like the student experts. So we'll collect all of the like incredibly rich data that shows our students' career interests and competencies to be able to connect them into opportunities that Deanna and her team organize for us. So Deanna, I'll toss it to you for that question.
And I'm in a little bit of a deficit. I have been in this role now for 2 months. So I can't necessarily speak to what has happened historically, but what I can tell you is in coming in and previously managing the On Track to Graduate initiative over the past 5 years for city schools, what is striking to me is the fact that the numbers went from like apprenticeships was 2 the first year, 47 the second year, and now we're going to be at 189 once that last group of young people get that certification for the early childhood education is I have walked into existing relationships, solid community partnerships, and that the messaging is really about putting the students in the center. So I feel like one of the things that I'm able to say to any employer that I'm speaking to is, you know, through the AMP program, we have infrastructure that they're, you know, once you get in, we've got the structure around it, but we also have these community partners like Baltimore's Promise that supports us in the spread and scale, because how do you go from 47 total to 100 and I think 8 in healthcare alone between University of Maryland Medical System, Sinai Hospital, MedStar, Johns Hopkins University, and Johns Hopkins Hospital. The infrastructure that was built, it really is a testament to the need for this. Again, I jokingly say it's organizing the adults, right? Because we can pull the, you know, we pull the kids through the programming, but it's when we have this focus and we're, you know, I think one of the things I was really grateful for in coming into the role was that I didn't have to go figure out what to say to a new employer or go to an event and try to sell it. We had materials, we had structure, we have things in place that allowed for me to actually step in and not have to reinvent the wheel. And I didn't necessarily have to build a whole new book of business, which sometimes happens, right? That the relationships went beyond just one person knowing another to the commitment between the organizations. So while I can't speak exactly to the exact how and when it happened, what I know is I walked into structure, and that structure is allowing me to pick this up quicker than I think I would have been able to, given the fact that, again, the spread and scale happened so quickly.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if that helps.
Thank you.
Dan, I do want to just shout out Tracy because she is on the call. So, I mean, part of the reason why we have that infrastructure is because of the Maryland Works grant that MSDE put out, 2 years ago now, where Baltimore's Promise and City Schools applied and we got that grant to build the infrastructure. And the numbers you see is because Baltimore's Promise and MOED and City Schools are great partners, right? And they were able really to build that infrastructure and really think about what does employer engagement look like. And there's an amazing mayor, I'm totally bipartisan, amazing mayor in Baltimore City that has made it a priority for all of his agencies to hire young people beginning with apprenticeship programs in high school. But I could not shout out Tracy while on this call, knowing that she's on this call with us, and Baltimore's Promise because Nona is here. Yes, but absolutely.
So quick question for you guys. So are the apprenticeships, are they AMPs or are they registered apprenticeships?
They are AMPs.
They're AMPs.
Okay.
Adenike, can I echo my pride for working with you in the city and all my favorite people on this call? Is it accurate to say that the reason that you have such a large investment coming in healthcare from large philanthropic partners is because of the earlier work that happened during Maryland Works? So there's been this snowball effect that happens from good work and people investing. Is that an accurate portrayal of sort of what's evolving?
I think so, but I'm going to let Nona answer that one. But that's what my gut says. But Nona, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I do think that philanthropic investment was able to help us build a summer prep step of this, where we had rising seniors. There was 127 of them who participated in the GNA CNA certification over the summers, and then we were only expecting to recruit 100. And of those 127, 100 and I think it's like 117 of them completed. And so we had to find additional placements because we had 100 slots confirmed by different, those 3 partners that Deanna called out, MedStar, UMMC, as well as Hopkins. And so Sinai took on additional spaces or slots, as well as MedStar increased additional placements.
We are closing in on when we should move, but I do want to acknowledge that Commissioner Jack Wilson from Queen Anne's County has joined us, and we welcome Commissioner Wilson, who also chairs, and maybe that's not the right term, but the MACo, the Maryland Association of Counties. Welcome, Jack. Glad you're here.
Thanks, Dave. Sorry about being late. I had a bad Zoom link for some reason. I'm glad you were able to send me the updated one, so I was able to join.
Very much appreciate having your perspective. Lots of meeting yet to unfold. And I just wanted to say, if there's thanks again to the team from Baltimore City. If there's a final question or a final thought that anyone would like to share, we have time for one more speaker.
So
I've spoken a whole lot the entire time, but I really also want to shout out our career coach on the call, Jocelyn. I know that we immediately went over to her wonderful young person student, Edwin, but yeah, Jocelyn, I just also wanted to make sure that you got your flowers on the call as well.
Thank you. I just really quickly want to say, appreciate all the work you guys are doing and like having meetings like this and making sure programming like this can exist. And I think I just want to share from my experience that kids are eager and students are eager to talk to me. Like even the sixth graders, sometimes I have reservations. I'm like, will they want to talk to me? Like, will they even care? But every time I go into a classroom, they're ready to talk. They're ready to hear and learn and just like talk about themselves, learn more about themselves, learn about careers and jobs and how to make money, or just I don't know, because I feel like learning more about your career path is learning more about yourself. And I feel like kids always want more of that. But yeah, thank you guys.
Well, big shout out to Baltimore City for the great job you guys are doing. You guys are doing an excellent job. My big takeaway, I love the CCR teamwork where you have the work-based leadership, the career coaches, the counselors, CTE all working together as one team. I think that was a good point that you guys made on this. So we'd love to have you guys back because I know you have more in your presentation. Definitely would like to see your scoper sequence. I'm starting to become an expert in scoper sequences. Never thought I would do that in workforce development. So, but thank you all very much for the great job that you guys are doing and really, you know, living what the vision of this program really is about. So thank you. Please feel free to stay on for the rest of our meeting. But as Dave said, you know, just for the sake of time, we need to transition over to our partners at MSDE, Maryland Department of Education. So I guess I will turn it over to, is Tracy on? Tracy, and Tracy, you can kind of set it up and introduce Rita and go through. We want to talk with you guys about the role that you're now taking in career counseling, professional development. Any updates you can do on my favorite topic I keep asking you guys about, 6-year plans. And then we want to talk about the new CTE requirements and get some perspective from some of the CTE folks on this call.
Absolutely, Kirk. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share out some of the new pieces that are moving and evolving at MSDE. So at the end of last spring, in partnership with many of the folks here, it was agreed that MSDE would carry the responsibility of investing in the professional learning of the career coaches across the state, to share that one voice, to make sure that their training was pedagogically sound, so that when they went into work with students of all learning styles, that they were equipped and confident in order to do that. And so Rita was brought on into this role to help us do that work, and then to also help us fulfill a regulation that we have in COMAR around ensuring that students have plans when they're meeting with specific caring adults, that they are academically prepared as well as receiving quality guidance throughout their trajectory in Maryland schools. And so our team was diving into that role as well as we brought Rita on. So I would love to turn things over to her to kind of talk through, like, what does that really look like? What does that mean? And then I can absolutely circle back to 6-year plans from a vision setting perspective and the way that MSD is going to support our local communities in implementing this. And then I am absolutely open to any questions or wonderings that folks have that come from that discussion.
All right. Thank you, Tracy, for that introduction. And again, hello to everybody here. So many of you have been part of this work, so this will sound familiar to you because you are a key partner in this work. So As Tracy shared, MSDE took on a little bit of a greater role in terms of the implementation of career counseling, specifically around the professional learning. But as I just said, this work is an incredible partnership. The professional learning that I'm going to speak on, I do help to facilitate, but I do it very much alongside of our partners. So Kirk, I'm looking at you and the work that you do with the Maryland Workforce Association. MWA is a huge partner in this. We meet to discuss, I'm going to use that word, scope and sequence now of adult learning. And we work together with the AIB and with the governor's workforce board, workforce development board, and of course, with all of our districts as well, and with our local workforce board. So it's definitely a partnership across the state. So our professional learning, when I came into this role late May and was thinking about what this would look like, it really kind of breaks down into 4 components. One is a monthly 90-minute virtual professional learning session that we have with our career counseling coordinators. And so these are the folks who are actually managing the career counselors, the coaches on the ground, and they are implementing the programming on the ground. They might be hired by the LEA, they might be hired by the workforce, they might be hired by the community college. Often we have representation from all 3 entities on these calls from the counties. So one is the virtual learning sessions each month. Then we also have monthly updates to an e-community where we are housing resources and tools. And so folks can look at these as they are following up from the sessions, but also they can access these resources asynchronously. We are engaging in regional convenings. I think Tracy will talk a little bit more on that. We will have some statewide convenings. And then in progress, I would love to develop a newsletter as well so that best practices can be shared regularly between counties. And I just want to stress that those virtual learning sessions are right now for the coordinators, but it's very much train the trainer model. And so we're hoping that the topics and conversations and tools that are shared are all being then brought back to the counties so that career coaches can have access to those things as well. And the professional learning itself really focuses on 1 or more strands each time, no matter what platform it takes place. And that's program management, right? Pedagogical skill, like Tracy spoke about, how are we making sure that we are reaching all of our learners? Data, so very much looking at the metrics we're collecting, how is that informing our work? What can we learn? And then how can we make sure that we are always doing our best by students? And career knowledge. So that is very key. I'm excited. I was just talking to Kirk before this session, but MWA is actually going to be a significant part of our next session and looking at how labor market information can be used to help career coaches plan experiences for their students. So kind of really learning about how to use those pieces. So we've had 3 sessions so far, just to give you a sense of what these look like. In September, it was very much community building and an overview. We want to make sure, for me, it's very important that there's also opportunity for that relationship building among career counseling coordinators, because we can have these sessions once a month, right? But we really want to get to a place where Brady, right, in Baltimore knows the coordinator in PG County and can pick up the phone and give them a call to run an idea by, right? So really creating these types of relationships that we can share best practices across counties, both in formal and informal settings. So we really focused on that in September. In October, we talked about data. AIB was a huge partner in this. We had a lot of questions about data from our coordinators, so we had an opportunity to talk about AIB metrics, review proposed 6-year plan sections, and then really let our coordinators get into small groups and raise the questions that they had, make points about where they needed clarity on the metrics so that we as state agencies can then also help provide stronger guidance moving forward. In November, to the point, I think somebody mentioned this, maybe Brady, it was you, one career coach, one career counseling coordinator, we cannot do it alone, right? This is 100% built on partnerships, both officially, folks who are officially part of Pillar 3 Blueprint Career Counseling Program, but also all of the supportive adults who come into contact with young people, right? So in November, we talked about building partnerships. How can school-based staff, meaning our special educators, our multilingual educators, our school counseling staff, our content teachers, how can everybody work together to best support our students? So we had folks from those departments at MSDE share out a little bit about what they do, offer suggestions about how career coaches can work together with those individuals in the buildings where they serve. And then also learning from best practices. So I'll give Brady a shout out. I know I'm talking a lot about him because they're here, and also because they've been great supporters of this work. He actually shared his strategy around leadership connection and the check-in meetings that they have and the town halls that they have. They presented that at the November session so that other districts could learn from that as well. And we had 4 other districts present. So I'm really excited that it's an opportunity to both share information and offer opportunities for districts to talk with each other and be able to learn from best practices. Upcoming topics in December, like I said, we'll talk about LMI. And then in the second semester, we hope to focus on family engagement, coaching career counselors, how to support career coaches into becoming even stronger advisors, and then more in depth on the 6-year plan. So I said a lot. Of course, things can look great on paper. I can say all kinds of things, but really the question is, what's the outcome, right? What are we seeing in terms of results? I know it's very, very early yet, but I can share a couple of data points that we've seen in terms of how things are going so far. And it's been pretty encouraging. Of course, we always have areas of growth. So each county so far, somebody from each county has attended at least one virtual PL session. So that's great in terms of reach. And on average, we have about 78% of our counties represented in each PL. So that's been good that we have such great participation across the state. Sessions have averaged 44 participants from our local 24 districts. So many are sending more than one coordinator, which is also good. That means we get representation from multiple aspects of that county. Those individuals include folks who are hired by the LEA, the workforce, and community college. And I'm also really excited about this. We average about 13 individuals from state partners. That's the Governor's Workforce Development Board, the AIB, the MWA, MSD staff from other departments. So it's showing sort of this investment in career counseling among state leaders, which means that hopefully as we move initiatives and move the work and continue to innovate, we are doing so collectively and as a team. And I will say, I looked at these numbers today to be sure, but it has been pretty even in terms of how many of the participants of these sessions are hirees from the LEA versus the workforce. It's pretty even representation. In fact, our first session, it was exactly even. And then they flipped a little bit both ways in the next 2. So that's been really great to see as well. And on our session evaluations, participants are asked to rate their experience along 7 indicators. So we look, do they feel a sense of purpose, relevance, coherence? Are they getting models that they can use? Do they feel it's a safe and supportive environment to engage in? Are they engaging? And then the application, do they feel like they can apply what they have learned? And they do so on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being the lowest, 4 being the highest. And the average ranking across all indicators for the first 3 sessions has been a 3.59, so almost a 3.6, which has been really good to see as well. And then we also asked them to assess their pre and post knowledge of the session outcomes on that evaluation, again on a 4-point scale. And on average, we've seen a growth in their answers of 0.37 points from the knowledge on the topic that they had coming in and that they're leaving with. So we're excited about this work, and it has, like I said, has not been any one person's doing. We really have come together and continue to do so. So thank you for all of those who have been a part of that work. And I'll guess open up if there's any questions specifically about professional development, and then Tracy will take it away about 6-year plan.
Any questions for Rita?
We're speechless, Rita.
Well, not hearing, so I'll make a statement. So Rita, thank you for the great work you've done. I mean, this has been what is something that's been very helpful. And like you said, bringing all of the coordinators together, sharing best practices, all learning together. Because, one of the things that just about all the local areas, the LEAs, the local workforce board and community college, just about in every area, they're doing great work and doing different innovative things. So bringing everyone together to learn and to support each other is something was definitely needed. And thank you for the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you, because it has been a collective effort. Appreciate it.
Rita, I was going to call out later in the update, but did you want to mention that website too? Because I feel like that's a great resource.
Yes, absolutely. I can drop in the chat and then maybe I don't know how it gets to everybody that's listening to, but yes, and that too has been a partnership. We have put together information on career counseling in sort of a one-stop shop page now. And that is information from the AIB, from the MWA, from the Governor's Workforce Development Board, and it has links to all of those websites as well. So you can go to one page and kind of work from there to seek the information that you need. So I will drop that in the chat. And thank you, Gretchen, for that reminder.
Yeah, and I do think if you just Google MSDE Career Counseling Hub, it does show up nicely. So.
Dave, I'm going to try minutes. Does that work?
That sounds good. And I wonder if you could comment on any changes to the CTE plan and any impact on the 45% goal in addition to the 6-year plan.
Yeah, of course. What do you mean by CTE changes? There've been quite a few. I want to make sure I'm answering the right one.
Anything that has implication for reaching to 45%.
Okay, perfect. So to kind of cover all of this, Richard did have to hop off. There has been some federal shifts that happened around 2:00 today that are pretty informative, that he was called to leadership. So I'm going to try to answer my best, but also have to defer somewhat. Dave, I apologize on that piece. A huge part to building our capacity as a state, moving this work from a career counseling program to a career counseling system that is systemic, is going to be included in building the capacity of the adults that do this work, both in our schools as well as in our career coaches across the state. And so a lot of the work that Rita is doing is aligning the individuals with the knowledge and the networks that they need in order to do high quality advising, and that also know each other's strengths. To know what is the strength of a local workforce board? Who do I call if I have a question about an ML student? What is the AIB going to ask me on my end of year report compared to what MSD is going to ask compared to what the CT committee is asking? And so a lot of the work that we've been doing, and Gretchen and Kirk, I want to give you, I know we're giving everybody's going to shout out today, but the amount of action that has happened in the last 6 weeks or the last 4 weeks is so encouraging. And we have been really digging at the hardest questions. I mean, Rita, Gretchen, we're working off of 3 different documents right now, right? Like, what do you mean by this definition? How are you going to measure this? And how can we make sure we don't duplicate it or that we complement it? What is your vision for the way a 6-year plan should be implemented? And who are all the stakeholders should be involved in that? To have that conversation as a partnership has been so encouraging in building our capacity, but also making it clear to local implementers about like the way the rollout looks like as a system. So just want to thank you for that. And I'm really excited for all the beneficiaries that are going to come from that time that we're having together. Part of ensuring high quality advising comes from a COMAR regulation around students leaving middle school and entering high school with plans to support them both with curricular, but also with their career aspirations. And so a lot of the work at MSD internally has to do with alignment. And so before we can give out guidance, which is going to be happening in January, as a baseline, we have to do alignment with our school counseling team and our team that serves students with special education services. The reason is because the Maryland Online IEP that asks for a lot of the questions that the 6-year plan also asks for. A Maryland Online IEP is federally regulated, and it also, anything you put on that is in law, which means you have to do, which means that aspirations and things that change can get complicated. It means when you have a young person who sits down with an IEP coordinator and sets a post-secondary plan and back maps their course sequences, they then go to a career coach who sets a different plan and gives different advice. You have to make sure that you have a coordinated system so that the adults and the students are not getting confused within that process at the local level. So those are things we're chewing on. When school counselors need to feel confident about the way that they are helping students map out their schedule trajectory, the way that master schedules are even created in schools. These are all things that internally we haven't been able to give answers to. And so with the ownership of 6-year plans, with the career coaching PL, we're able to work through some of those nuances that have huge impact. So that's a huge part of just internally organizing to make sure when the guidance comes out that we're speaking with one voice. That's happening at MSDE. That's also happening across the state, as we just discussed with the AIB on shared metrics and shared definitions. And then the most important thing that I'm really excited about, and I don't know if Dee Dee and Adam are still on this call, but no cheating. We're going to tell you more about this on Thursday during our CT director's call. But something that we're excited to do at the state is to create the space for all of the professionals to come together and to work through what state implementation is going to look like for all of these changes that are happening across the state. For anyone who doesn't work in a school system, one of the most challenging things about Blueprint is that a single CAO is being asked to metabolize every single change that is happening in Blueprint. That is really, really difficult to do.
Can you remind us what a CAO is?
Yes, a chief academic officer, Dave. Thank you so much for asking. And so you have Blueprint coordinators, you have these chief academic officers who are the visionaries of Blueprint implementation. And what happens when you have new comprehensive arts pathways and a new math policy coming out and PE pathways and the new core flex model and CTE and all of these changes, we at the state have to metabolize this and then prepare our leadership with the options for them to choose what they want their adaptation to look like through a landscape analysis or using data or understanding from their peers what they're doing. And so a lot of the work around 6-year plans is also aligning across every division all the things that are happening under Blueprint so that a leader who is making these decisions over the next 18 months feels confident in how they all intersect. And so that's a huge part of that work. For that work to happen, our team has a 1-year plan for implementation and rollout. It's going to start on January 30th with a leadership convening that is invite only. Many of the people on this call know of this already. We're going to be speaking with all of our other division leaders at MSDE, but we are going to invite CT directors, leaders of career coaches, leaders of school counseling, Blueprint coordinators, and chief academic officers to a convening to talk about that metabolization that and all the changes that are coming out. From there, we're going to be piloting with 6 districts a new career connected learning system, reimagining school scheduling, staffing models, helping them understand what this could look like. There's going to be 6 of those pilots that will help us also. And Dee Dee, I love seeing your face here because Dee Dee is someone who I count on to ask the hard questions. And when we create our data infrastructure that's going to come from these pilots, I'm so glad that Anne Arundel has signed up because I'm counting on you to ask me the impossible questions so we can build a data infrastructure that is really speaking to what you need and that we're asking the right questions. So all of that's going to evolve into a community of practice. So over the summer, we're going to take the pilots and you guys are going to be able to teach all of the state what we learned and what we wrestled with. We'll have the summer to plan. In August, we'll come back and we're going to do a get ready meeting because at that point, the work will transition from district planning and strategy to local implementation. So we're going to ask you guys to identify your influencers, bring your ML expert at the local school district, et cetera, bring them in for a convening in October of 2026, where there will be a state convening where we're going to be able to actually wrestle through, learn from our pilots. We'll have data infrastructure at that time, and we will have sample implementation templates for the pilots that did this. And so all of these changes that are happening under Blueprint Pillar 3 will all exist both in, we have an e-community, we have a PL, professional learning community. We are now creating space for the caring adults who are making these decisions and supporting these students at both the district and the state and the local school level to have those options to be able to cross-pollinate, to collaborate, to really noodle on this together. So we're really excited to be able to use that space as a vector through which to move the work. That's where the guidance of 6-year plans comes out. That's when you start thinking about how we create new school schedules to allow more students to participate in apprenticeships. We have a wait list of students waiting for apprenticeships through course requests. We have so many students are so excited about it. We've done too much of a good job. And so there are some really creative things we need to do with the school schedule to ensure that young people have those experiences. So that's the goal of 6-year plans. It's the quality advising, the professional learning, investing in the adults who do this work, and then creating the infrastructure in the anatomy for it all to coexist.
That is an impressive overview. Thank you for that and all the details associated. As we move toward more of a conversation, I just wanted to pause and acknowledge our Department of Education, MSDE, our Maryland State Department of Education colleagues who are soldiering through as federal news is breaking about the Federal Department of Education, even this afternoon. So thank you very much for being on the call. I know that there will be a lot of discussion about implications in the hours and days ahead as all of that unfolds. Nevertheless, the need for more skilled trades, men and women in our economy and in the state of Maryland, and this effort to make high school more impactful and effective is not going to change. And it's going to continue on and still necessary. So just a quick note, the 6-year plan, at the heart of that is effective career coaching and career counseling. And we started the call with Jocelyn and Edwin, and an impactful story about a young man, a young student who was able to buy his first car, free and clear, and get inspired for a different career path. But what I'm hearing you say, Tracy, is that's an incredible amount of organization and structure behind the scenes to make sure that, like, on the one, am I hearing you right? On the one hand, we know as we implement that the economies and the industries throughout our state are very different. So we have a lot of local flexibility. With boards of education, we have a lot of local flexibility, and that's necessary. But at the same time, if this is going to be a statewide initiative that gets our graduating classes up to 45% with apprenticeships, certifications, et cetera, it's got to be really well organized. And you just named a slew of braided parts. So I'll just pause here. Are there comments or questions about the organization, the structure behind the 6-year plan?
Not necessarily the 6-year plan, but really curious about the 45%, being that there is a wait list. What shifts have been made, if any, with meeting that 45% apprenticeship IRC goal?
I'm just trying to find the unmute button. So we've been working really closely. Folks don't necessarily know this, but there is a community within the Swiss government that has selected Maryland as a testing opportunity to see how we can scale apprenticeships here. And in that community has been some key stakeholders at MSDE, at the Maryland Department of Labor, and the Governor's Workforce Development Board, all coming up with that strategy to make sure that we are meeting industry demand, but also student demand. And so one of the things that we're excited to dive into together with all of our partners is how we can use the current data and the trends to make an informed target in a tiered way over the course of the next several years. And so what's what has been publicly shared at board meetings, and I know Richard stands behind, is that for us to currently meet the 45%, it would require over 30,000 opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities in particular. And currently we, I believe last year had about 1,800, if that includes AMP. If it does not include AMP, it's less than 100. And so what we're trying to look at is a data-informed lens, looking at the labor market demand for those opportunities. I think that our labor team is doing an amazing job with recruiting for those opportunities, but making sure that we are looking at the data historically and projected in our graduates, and ensuring that we are looking at this from that data-informed lens. And so that is going to be a partnership between the Department of Education and the Department of Labor, including the Governor's Workforce Development Board, on reviewing the data and the projections, and being able to estimate if the 45% is still the right goal, and if it makes sense within this kind of community of practice that they are in and that we've been learning from. And so that is the current update on the 45%, but also happy to take any questions if there's particular details that I can try to clarify.
But you can have an AMP with the certification with an IRC, right, to get to 45. So the apprenticeship being the gold standard, but you've given us a silver standard, if I may. And you know, we used to argue for many keys for the CCR door, and maybe they're, you know, having a golden and a silver standard, and maybe there needs to be a bronze. I don't know, but I appreciate your data-driven approach to that.
Yeah. And when the blueprint 45% was created, like, we didn't have the data around AMP that we have now. Like, we know that AMP diversifies the types of occupations our students have. It diversifies gender and enrollment and involvement in those apprenticeships. So we just have more to go off of. And there's a story, I think, that's been told through that experience and for our young people. And the agility that the economy needs, because when the 45% was written, the economy looked a little different. And so there's all of these pieces that I think now we have these data points, right, Dr. Harper, that I think that we can now connect and just have a different conversation around, which is fair and realistic for our young people, but also our school systems and our workforce boards.
How do you balance the local flexibility and the need for, you know, regional differences with the need for consistency at the state level when it comes to something like career coaching training, or when it comes to the metrics?
I'm so glad that you asked. So a quality career coach should look the same no matter where they are, right? A career coach in Reginald F. Lewis High School should be just as qualified and educated as a career coach at Dunbar High School in Baltimore City, right? Or a career coach on the Eastern Shore. One of the things around equity of ecosystem, which I think is what you're speaking about, which is like you have some LEAs or counties that are rich in apprenticeship and in business opportunity, and you have some in more rural communities in particular who may not have the same access to those career opportunities. So one of the changes you asked about is a shift in our CTE programs or within CTE. We are introducing a new way to structure CTE. It's called a Core Flex model. And what it does is it takes a 4-course sequence that was traditionally 4 courses, auto 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it condenses it into 2, and it allows a flex option. So Damascus High School, for example, in Montgomery County has an excellent auto program. They might look at their data and say, we're going to keep auto 1, 2, 3, and 4 because our kids are graduating and they're getting great IRCs and we have a fantastic teacher. In Frederick County, Dynamic Auto has expanded from 1 to 7 different auto shops because of youth apprenticeship. So maybe Frederick says we're going to have students take auto 1 and 2 at Frederick High School, and then they're going to do their apprenticeship at Dynamic Auto. They're going to choose that to be a part of their workforce development talent strategy. You might have Prince George's Community College, who has a great ASE certification articulation with Prince George's Community College. So maybe they want to think about their strategy from layering auto 1 and 2 plus the community college. What that allows us to also do is create a career-connected learning system, which allows students to participate in apprenticeship, internship, school-based enterprises, or industry-aligned capstone projects to account for the fact that students don't all have access to transportation. So sometimes the business project has to come to them. Sometimes we have employers who are unable to pay a young person all 450 hours, or we have a young person who whose family receives public benefits either because of farms or because they are a student on the alternative framework and they're afraid of the benefits cliff if they start making money. So we as a school district have to ensure that we are giving students options, no matter their financial circumstance or access to resources, to build these high quality experiences. That we also need to ensure that we are accounting for equity of ecosystems. So students that have access to a large number of businesses and employers don't have an unequal access to those than students who maybe don't. So the core flex model is going to allow us to rethink school in a way that a student could go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to finish their graduation requirements and leave and go to their job on Thursday and Friday. And so we're fundamentally restructuring the system to give equity based on the ecosystem, equity based on the student's circumstance, and then flexibility in the school schedule for those things to evolve.
Thank you. I see some questions brewing.
I'm so sorry, I can't.
So from the local perspective, any feedback from any of our local people, local LEAs that are implementing all this stuff? Any thoughts?
CPS would love to jump in. So it has been, I would first like to applaud MSD because I have been in CTE in our county for 20 years. I started out as a teacher. I was a work-based learning facilitator. I was a principal at both of our CAT centers. And we have desperately needed, first of all, standards. Like we never had state standards in the world of CTE, so thank you. And then all the work that is happening behind the scenes is we are definitely moving in the right direction. With that being said, and Dee Dee, feel free to jump in at any time. Dee Dee and I have gone on a world tour a couple times of Anne Arundel County Public Schools because it's really about educating our comprehensive high school, middle school, and high school principals about these opportunities. Because we have in Anne Arundel, I can't speak for the rest of the state. We have viewed CTE one way, and now it is, we get to be in the spotlight, which is awesome. But it's really about educating first of our education leaders and then our school counselors, and involving our career coaches in this process and involving our work-based learning facilitators and our academic specialists about things like the 4-course flex model. Revamping, Dee Dee and I have spent countless hours behind the scenes doing things like literally ripping out our program of study and started from scratch. We needed it anyway, so we thank you. But this really allowed us the opportunity really to start from scratch with things such as that. It's been a lot of behind the scenes work, but I will tell you, I feel like, as we just met at a principals convening today, we met with all 14 of our comprehensive high schools and both of our CTE center principals to educate them about some more of the changes. And I'll tell you, we are doing kind of a soft rollout. Like we met with each one of the schools with their school counselor, with their assistant principal over CTE and their principal to kind of first set the tone and set the stage, if you will, with all the changes. And then we added some more layers today. So I think our approach is probably a good one. I'll tell you when we get feedback from our colleagues. But we are trying to truly scaffold it because even at the end of the presentation, I said to them today, like, hey, like this is a lot. We know this is a lot. It's a lot for me, and this is my world. So I know it's a lot for you. And we truly are just trying to be 100% proactive and go out and meet with admin teams and school counselor teams to make them aware that, hey, like we are truly working with this shoulder to shoulder with you and in service oriented leadership, because that, in my opinion, that's what this is going to take. Dee Dee, I'm sorry for hogging the mic for so long.
No, you're totally fine. Tracy hears from me all the time. So just to echo what Joe's saying, we are really, Anne Arundel is at the forefront of this, right? We are really embracing the changes. It allows more flexibility to double the seats at our CAT centers. By reducing the amount of credits, it allows us to have who are students were traditionally on the wait list. Now we can actually open up more seats, right? Because that's something that we want to do, is give the students the opportunity. The way we're tailoring this is we are leaning into our career coaching and our work-based learning facilitators and our middle school with a new course that is going to allow them to look at computational thinking and learning, which is like the key to like project management, in my opinion, at the forefront, looking at the careers through that cluster. So give students that opportunity to make the competent choices as they move up and explore their careers into the high school. So we're hitting it from two fronts. And then we're also looking at that flex model as the leverage and the availability to lean into what students are able to do at the time they're able to do it. It's a scaffold, right? Not every student is ready for that dual enrollment experience. Not everybody is ready for that internship experience. But there are key things we can do with that third class to make them ready for the next step. So a lot of that is looking at that in that model, having the flexibility to schedule the way we need to schedule, because there are still, like you said, staffing implications to certain things, right? And as you roll out old and bring in the new, you have to make sure you do it in a good way. So I really appreciate MSDE's flexibility in letting us as LEAs just have that on-ramp to how we roll our school into the programs the way we are. And we are happy to be a pilot school for it, because we like to be a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem, right? So if we want to say something and make it work, we have to be on the ground willing to do the work to make it into what we think it should be. So you will always hear me in my 5 million comments and questions on make it make sense. Help me figure this out. Because what I know is that from a parent standpoint, and I have 5 kids, from that standpoint, watching my kids go through the school system and knowing what they want and listening to Noah when he comes home and talks about his class or whatever. And I'm like, do I have a class like that for him? Right? What is available to our students? And we're preparing them for a future that doesn't exist yet. So what does that look like? What is the foundational pieces that we need to do to give them so that they can transition and have those transferable skills from whatever career it is to another career? So just some thoughts, but I do appreciate the work. So I hope that helps in the response.
Adam, do you want to talk about how this looks in Queen Anne?
Absolutely, and I know we're getting short on time, so I won't go too long. But yes, I'll just echo the sentiments from Joe and Dee Dee, and of the collaboration with MSDE now. And I've been in this role for 8 years. Is probably the best that that it's ever been. They are always open to suggestions and help, and the collaboration I think is really just key. And we have a meeting. Actually, I convened a meeting of our Eastern Shore CT supervisors coming up this Friday, and Tracy and Marquita on her team are going to join us virtually, because we have some work throughs that we're trying to figure out with the program of study. But we are certainly happy to have some options, and we are committed to doing what's best for kids and having these options and creating some models and seeing what that is going to look like for our students through the program study, through the industry credentials in our programs, and making that alignment. And we certainly do have a bit of a deficit on the shore in terms of registered apprenticeships. And so we're trying to figure out how to bridge that gap and just give, like I said, give the best opportunities that we can for our students, and those experiences that the career coaches bring awareness to our students for is really just is at an unprecedented level, and we are just certainly appreciative of everything.
If I may add one other thing real quick, Adam, thanks for that. You jogged my memory. One thing that Dee Dee and I have been tackling over the last maybe 9 months to a year is some of the LEAs in Arundel. We truly don't have the data systems, right, to support some of the stuff. So, like, for example, IRCE collection, like we have been utilizing spreadsheets at the CAT centers for the last umpteen years. And then we changed this into another model like 3 or 4 years ago. But now that we're collecting industry recognized certifications from 16 different schools, like we did not truly have the infrastructure to make that happen, or it would be really inaccurate. So we've worked with our data office in PowerSchool. It's the system that we utilize in Anne Arundel to build out a page. And this also goes into like the 6-year plan, right? Like in Anne Arundel, we're utilizing a few different systems where it would be ideal if we were utilizing one, which, over time we can make that happen. But I would imagine some other LEAs are in that same situation to where currently we're utilizing Pathful, Zello, and Naviance. I know some systems do use one, but in a system like ours, like where we will get there, but it is just another obstacle where, school counselors and career coaches, there's a barrier in communication to where if we were utilizing one system, it would be way easier for them to communicate and see student results and then have more informed conversations with students and things like that.
Joe, I'm really glad that you mentioned that. And I appreciate hearing that experience. I have been, Richard likes to say, trying to shake the couch. I've been trying to find some friends for the last year that can help us build that infrastructure. Our dream is to, under Pillar 3, we have all of these requests and all of these new things and all this alignment and all this data, but we haven't given any resources, support, or funding for you to build out the data dashboards, do the enhancements and things like that you need. So I have been advocating for over a year to find an avenue. I know that is absolutely key. And my dream is to be able to say, Dee Dee, you just spent 6 months in this pilot and I have $50,000 to give you to help build out the infrastructure that you need. I know, mind blown. And I actually learned that from my friends in Baltimore City, because when we had to build out dashboards for On Track to Graduate, it was the same thing. And so just stay tuned and stay hopeful. We're continuing to look at that. And our team has also been talking with 3 different vendors to see if it was possible in any way to have a state system, like you said, so we all had like one voice and the same data dictionary and things like that. So just know it's top of mind.
Tracy, that's outstanding. Like, and this is, I don't know if Adam has the same thing, and sorry for if I extend this meeting past its time, but like in Anne Arundel County, I'll speak very honestly, like CTE has not been on the front of burner for the last 25 years. Right. So we are able to capture other data very easily to where our data office is phenomenal and they're building stuff out for us. But now, like if you were to ask Dee Dee or I right now, how many kids earned an industry recognized certification in a certain area, whatever it was, over the last 3 years, like we could capture it. It would take us a while to where, it would be very nice if we could say, all right, let's look at trend analysis. Like, hey, let's look at culinary over the last 3 years and let's see what school was doing well and let's talk about instruction. We just don't have that infrastructure yet. We'll get there.
Joe, you bring up a really valid point that is not just statewide, but national, that as educational systems at the secondary and post-secondary move more toward workforce and trades, CTE, if you will, the systems haven't been built for that. So that's one of the things that Pillar 3 can maybe support and serve as some of these solutions come and people find effective models or systems. That's something that we can feature that might be helpful. So I want to pause here. I know we've got updates from Gretchen, and I also wanted to allow a last word or two on this very, very fruitful topic here. This has been good discussion about the CTE Flex model and the 6-year plans. Kirkland, you want to say anything? And did anybody else want to make a final couple comments?
I do have one final comment. Thank you, Kirk. The one thing I want to say to Tracy is my dream is to have it where if a student steps foot into a CTE class, it lights a pathway for them, right? So when you think about how things can operate, it can be like, you can take this course, you can take this course, you can take this course, because part of it is the scheduling piece from a parent's standpoint and from a student standpoint, right? You don't know the continuation of the process. So when you think about those data dashboards and you think about the data, we have to think about how we get to the data to get the student to that point. The career coaches help with all of that. The other pieces help, but ultimately it's when a parent is looking at a schedule, do they know where the kids should go next? Do they know that visual pathway? Some of those pieces need to be built out with it as well. So if you give me money for that, you'll be my best friend.
All right. Any other Comments, questions, suggestions?
No, I do want to highlight, I mean, Tracy, I think one of the things that I think maybe circling back with Baltimore City Public Schools in a couple of months as they, build out school links to do exactly what Dee Dee just said, right? And where you have all the school-based CCR teams in the same platform, supporting with scheduling, CT pathways, work-based learning experiences, tracking IRC data, all the things. That might be another time, as Dr. Harper was talking about, like spotlighting like innovative work in programming. I think that data piece and that platform piece has been a barrier. So just seeing kind of where city schools gets in the next couple of months with using school links to do exactly what Dee Dee was just recommending.
Would love to have them back. All right. Well, no more comments. Again, thank you to MSDE. Thank you for all of our guest speaker. Very lively conversation. Dave, I think this has been one of our better meetings ever with this. A lot of good topics, a lot of good feedback. So really appreciate everybody's time and willing to share and be part of this conversation. So to kind of close us out, back to Gretchen. Gretchen, any AIB updates?
Well, I would just echo what you just said. I feel like it was a really good conversation, and I appreciated it, even though we sort of zoomed in on career counseling, it sounded like at the beginning, but we highlighted all these different connections that came up with the career connected learning and the CT and the apprenticeship and the data needs. And I really appreciated how everyone sees how it all fits together, because it's really important. So I think there's a lot of hard work being done, as you can see, at the state and the local level to really drive this work. And we're getting there, we're making progress. So it's very encouraging. So thank you all to everyone for sharing their time and giving us some updates. And the AIB side, as always, it's been a very busy fall. We are a small team doing lots of work. I'll just give a quick couple highlights. People probably already know this, but we did conduct Blueprint progress monitoring conversations with all 24 districts. Those were in-person conversations, kind of going deep into the data, trying to just learn about progress so far, how's it going, and talk about next step strategies to kind of support ongoing implementation. So that was really helpful. Those conversations were really collaborative and terrific, and we appreciate everyone's time and dedication to doing that work. We will be posting conference summaries on our website soon. Folks are looking for that kind of just background on what the conversation looked like. And mentioning the website, we have a new refreshed AIB website. If anyone hasn't seen that yet, it looks a lot better. It's easier to find things. Hopefully we'll take suggestions if you can't find things, or let us know, but we will try and keep it current with updates and highlights and new reports as we get in. And we will be having some data dashboards out there soon by LEA, by Pillar. So we are also diving into the data piece of the work, because we know that's really important to folks. And we mentioned the Career Counseling Hub website as well. And then I would call out, we've been reviewing all the career counseling MOUs and or budgets that got turned in for the year. Again, the partners have to have a current MOU and budget agreed to by the college partner, the workforce partner, and the LEA. And so we know there's a lot of work that goes into organizing those agreements, and we really appreciate the back and forth we had with some counties trying to understand what the staffing look like, what the budgets look like, make sure it all is in order. So we've really, it's been a lot of hard work, but we've gotten there, and I think we're going to have all 24 counties approved at Thursday's AIB meeting. So yes, we have an AIB meeting this coming Thursday. So if you can look for the agenda on our website, if that's of interest to you. And it's also at the same time as the CT committee is having their meeting. So there's 2 meetings Thursday, if you want to listen to that one as well. And to kind of follow up on Dee Dee's point about kind of helping people know where to go next. One of the topics on the CT committee's agenda is the MSDE, MHEC, and the CT committee are working to develop, or at least create a plan for developing career pathways that kind of extend from high school into what's next, into what are the post-secondary options, what are apprenticeship options, really kind of, giving people a much clearer path and map that hasn't existed before. So that is work that we understand is very important to helping these system pieces all coordinate and work together. And so those 3 agencies are developing a plan to do that work. And I think an update will be shared at Thursday's meeting. So I think we're all on the same page about the need to coordinate and get the data and the landscape analysis really built out. Anika, did you have a question?
Thanks, Gretchen. So when you talked about community colleges, it just raised a question for me around just maybe at an upcoming meeting, just really seeing like some like partnerships with community colleges, because I know that was a struggle. And so just trying to see which LEAs may have figured out those relationships and how community colleges are showing up in this space would be really helpful. And maybe they'll talk about it during the CT committee update on Thursday, but just what JFF is like. I know there was a contract, so just
Yes,
learning more
that is also
about
on
what
the
that
agenda.
scope of work is going to look. Okay, awesome. Okay.
Yes, they're good. They're helping organize the best practices report that is due. They had to, their goal is to look at the agreements piece of the career counseling partnerships and really kind of assess what best practices look like to date. So it's early. We know it's kind of early in the game, so it's not necessarily, you know, is career counseling itself, what is the best practices in the ground on the schools, but really how are the partnerships organized? What can we learn from that? Where might the state provide additional guidance? Because we didn't provide a whole lot of guidance at the beginning. It was a little bit of like, you all figure it out. And maybe in retrospect, we could have provided a little more help, support, guidance, data systems, those kinds of things. So they're going to help kind of do a whole scan. And that is due at the end of this year, although it may be, I think, in January before we see it soon. But it's on its way. So I think they will give an update on that as well.
Really appreciate that you asked that, Adenike. Just wanted to say thank you from the community college world, and also for my friend Dr. Dreyer there at CSOL, who's long been a leader here in this space. We have a stand, and I'm going to honor everyone's time. I know it's been a long meeting, and we are adjourning even now. But the community college group that meets statewide, all 16, we have a standing blueprint topic. And it's very much at the forefront of this collaboration for all of us is very significant and very important. We want it to go well and to partner well because we share a lot of the same goals and even some of the same students. So more to come on that. That's indeed, we're back in January after the holidays as we got the Thanksgiving season and the winter holiday season. So we'll be back, and that's going to be one of the feature points along with mathematics and the new plans and the curricular revisions there. So just sincere thanks to everyone, and Kirkland gets the last word.
No, David, you have the last word. I mean, thank you, everybody. Great meeting. Appreciate all of our guests. And please come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.